Hey everyone, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Pokemon Red with a team picked by a random number generator was super fun and easy. Let's follow that up with my first Skyrim challenge in years. Today's the day that we figure out would I be able to beat Skyrim while always sneaking. Yeah, so this entire run we have to be crouch walking. In Skyrim, that means that we're a lot harder to spot and enemies might not notice us, but it also means we're going to be moving much slower and can't sprint. I did this once before a few years ago in Fallout New Vegas, and it was brutally slow, but I think it's going to be worse in Skyrim. See, in New Vegas, you still have guns, so even if you're slowly crouch walking and can't move fast in combat as a result, you can still hit things pretty well. Well, in Skyrim, melee is a lot more important, but it takes far longer to swing while crouching, meaning that we're especially vulnerable up close. Maybe some kind of magic and bow hybrid strategy will work best. Like always, I'm writing this script as I go through with the challenge, so all this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if I can win or not. I think it all comes down to how good I am at fighting dragons while crouched. I can probably win, but I think it's going to take quite a few tries. Let's explain the rules. I'm only allowed to move while crouching. So I can stand, or I can crouch walk. No regular walking or sprinting. We're only going to be standing up to talk to people, since you need to be able to do that to beat the game after all. Also, if you enjoy the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. Alright, so the challenge starts once we're past the tutorial area. I went with the Dark Elf for our race, partly because Dark Elves are cool, and partly because if I'm going stealth, bows, and magic, then it's a decent enough choice. While I traveled to the first story dungeon of the game, let's talk about the challenges that I see happening. It's a long walk after all. Hey, I did figure out this one trick to move faster though. If I spam the ready weapon button while I have magic in both hands, then we just keep raising our hands up and down. While we're doing this, we get weird little speed boosts that keep us crouched but let us move at what I think might be regular walking speed. Or running speed rather, I guess walking is a different speed. I mean, it's a neat little trick, but it's not going to help in combat very much, and it means that I have to mash this button the whole time I travel, but at least it's something. Well, I can already tell from the tutorial fights that always crouching is going to mean that we're going to be getting stuck in melee range a lot. Yeah, we get sneak attacks with our bow, and the damage is great, but it's not a fast-firing weapon, and a lot of enemies attack in groups, so getting swarmed is just going to happen sometimes. I'm not really sure how I want to defend against that. Maybe we could put our back to a wall, hold up a shield when we need it, and blast them with area magic in the openings. That might work. I would say it would be trapping us, but it's not like we can just outrun them anyway. Oh man, that means I'm not going to be able to outrun any of the random dragon attacks on the world map. That's going to be bad. You know what? That just gave me an idea. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm going to preemptively go to a bunch of areas that I need to mark off on my map ahead of time. See, later in the game, dragons are going to spawn sometimes when we're in these wide open areas between locations, but they don't spawn until you've already done a few main story quests. So what I'm going to do is go get the locations I need ahead of time so I don't need to worry about dragon attacks later. Places like Skyhaven Temple, where I nearly always get attacked by a dragon on my way there. Also, Ratway, my Blackreach entry point of choice. Once we have the fast travel points, we don't need to worry about random dragon attacks in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna go spend an hour or so doing that, then I'll go to Bleak Falls Barrow for the first real quest. Wait, you know what? If we're already going to the Ice Cave to learn about Elder Scrolls and get Ratway on our map early, then what happens if I just try to get the Elder Scroll right at the start of the game? I figure something will try to stop me, but it's been so long that I don't really know what's gonna happen. But I'm here, so I guess I'll give it a try. Well, the outside of the place just had really weak bandits, but inside is a little bit tougher. Still just bandits, but we're level 3 now, mostly from leveling up our sneak traveling everywhere, so the guys in here are just a little bit tougher. I'm using a firebolt spell that you can buy in Whiterun, and I'm just gonna call it Fireball probably 95% of the time, because that's what it is. And I've got a point in apprentice level destruction magic, so I've got a discount on casting it, but we still can't throw many fireballs before we have to recharge. So against really tough targets, I find myself pulling out the shield just to buy time. The next part was much harder, and I died loads trying this. There's a few different kinds of dwarven security bots in here, and every time I tried to fight them, I just got boxed into a corner and two-shot. We don't even come close to taking them out with our spells, so I had to start trying to breeze past them as fast as I could, which isn't very fast. The next room has a spinning blade trap to jump over. I figured it would take out the enemies following me, but that was wishful thinking, as a bunch of them made it past. I got to the elevator as fast as I could, flipped the switch, the loading screen happened, and oh god, they're still following me. Yeah, turns out they take the elevator with you. That doesn't happen in some elevators in this game. So with them still chasing me, I thought I was doomed, when I hardly made it into the next room and jumped onto some rubble in the corner. This room is full of Falmer, these weird underground fallen elves. I lucked out. It turns out they can't reach us on this rubble, so the Falmer just took out all of the dwarven security bots. Nice. Now that isn't to say that this room is easy though. I have to very slowly, one by one, try and get the Falmer to pay attention to me so that I can throw my fireballs at them from the rubble. Now each individual Falmer is much stronger than us. It takes many hits to take them down, and it takes about 2 or 3 physical attacks for them to take us down. Not only that, but a lot of these guys have either magic or bows, and if we can throw fire at them, then they can hit us back. I probably died at least twice on every single Falmer in here. It took a good 10 minutes to get through this one room. The next big obstacle is the last one before Blackreach. There's a huge room with a drawbridge that can't come down because there's bones stuck in some gears. Normally I sprint all over this place, pull out the bones, drop the drawbridge, then try to squeeze past the battlebot on the other side of the bridge, fighting the Falmer. This time though, I was able to sneak around and get every bone out without getting noticed either than the last one. Now I still died a bunch of times trying this. Again, the Falmer are crazy strong. The funny thing is, it doesn't seem like the Falmer really run around and gather allies when they get into a fight in this room. I'll fight an enemy and have another Falmer clearly within sight range not come to help out. Eventually, this strategy worked out and I was able to slip by the drawbridge and get through the door. Oh my god, we actually made it to Blackreach. I just kind of assumed we'd hit a brick wall by this point. Well, if I remember right, it's really quick and easy to just sneak through Blackreach from this entrance. The Elder Scroll isn't far away at all. Yeah, it took all of 5 minutes to sneak through the place, do the weird button puzzle, and yep, we actually have an Elder Scroll. I didn't even see a single enemy once I got into Blackreach. I haven't even done Bleak Falls Barrow yet. I mean, I can't do anything with this Elder Scroll until we go meet Paarthurnax, and that isn't until we've done a ton of other story missions, but hey, we got it early. That's kinda cool. I didn't really think it was gonna let me. I figured that means at the moment we meet Paarthurnax, we can just do the Alduin fight right away. I guess we'll just go do Bleak Falls Barrow now. So the whole first part of Bleak Falls Barrow was super easy. We're level 4 and hit level 5 during the dungeon, but I guess because this is supposed to be the first dungeon you do, the enemies in this place don't seem to scale with your level. Our firebolts are absolutely launching bandits all over the place. The first real challenge we had in here was in the giant spider room, where I used a mod to turn the spider into a bear, partly because I'm not fighting a giant spider every time I do a Skyrim run on account of being a baby, and also because the bear fight is way harder than the spider fight, because the spider is too big to leave the room, so you can just pelt it from the doorway with ranged attacks. But the bear isn't. I played it smart though, and we leveled up from throwing the first few fireballs, so I used the level up to fully restore our magicka the moment we ran out, letting me spam out enough firebolts to take him down before he could maul us in a corner. Awesome. The rest of the place is just fine, it's Draugr fights, and although they have a little bit more health than the bandits, we're still just launching them all over the place. They don't stand a chance. The final boss of this place is an extra tough Draugr, but we can take him out in 3 double-handed firebolts. Our first one missed and we took a little bit of damage, but I don't think that we're in any real danger. But you know what comes after this? Our first dragon fight. We get a lot of backup, but it's still pretty much up to us to do most of the fight. I hope our total lack of mobility doesn't doom us. So normally I kind of struggle with the first dragon fight, but I couldn't believe how easy it was this time. Part of it is the luck of the dragon never landing near us, but part of it is also that we have an awesome Falmer bow from Blackreach, so we can do pretty good damage with really low archery skill. It only took 1 minute before we beat the dragon. Alright, next we have to go meet the Greybeards, but they live on a mountain, so we have to go do the pilgrimage of 7,000 steps, or whatever it's called. Basically, we climb a mountain. There's not really any serious danger here. Yeah, there's like a frost troll up there somewhere that can mess you up, but normally I just run around it. I guess I'll have to figure out how to sneak around it this time, unless my fireballs can do the trick. Oh boy, I sure am working up a sweat walking up all these steps. These robes are just so warm and heavy. If only I had somewhere that I could get something breezier and more stylish to wear. Wait, do you hear that noise? It's coming from the top of the mountain. Is it the Greybeards? Is it Parthenax? No, it's this video's sponsor, Chimera. You know, Chimera, the place you probably already went to get some stuff this summer. Well, if the weather is still warm for you, then rest assured they're still selling their ever-comfortable t-shirts. But if you're already getting chilly where you live, then they've got all kinds of warmer wear like their super comfortable hoodies. And hey, like I was talking about last time, the scarves. Maybe this is the year you find out if you're a scarf person. So if you want to support the channel and look good while doing it, hit up the link in the description to go to Chimera and pick up something comfortable to wear this fall. If you're gonna go pick something up, then make sure to use the promo code Mah-Dry-Bread at checkout to get 10% off your order and to let them know that I sent you. Now let's go climb this mountain. Oh yeah, and the frost troll was super easy. I could have snuck around it, but it literally couldn't reach me when I saw it, so I just pelted it with fireballs and got a little bit of destruction skill for it. Oh, and we hit level 6, and I got the first sneaking perk to make us harder to detect. Yeah, I could have gotten it earlier, but every previous level up went into making our destruction magic not useless, because we sucked at fights. So at the top, we do our training with the Greybeards that only glitched out for us once this time. Lucky me. I kind of thought that the whirlwind sprint shout would make me uncrouch, but it actually doesn't. That's kind of cool. Maybe this will be another tool in the toolbox for getting past things quickly despite still being crouched. All right, we got another dungeon to go do. Let's get it done. So next up is Estengrav. Estengrav. I'm gonna guess that's Estengrav. It's some kind of tomb full of necromancers and Draugr. Honestly, a really quick and easy dungeon. The nice thing, though, is that I got my hands on necromancer robes, and that really helps us regenerate our magicka a lot faster. So we're slightly less useless than usual. Honestly, nothing here puts up a real fight. We breezed through here. The only thing of note was this puzzle where you have to sprint through some runestones and then whirlwind shout to get past the gates. I tried doing it while crouched with all of our little tricks, but we didn't even come close to making it. So that's kind of lame. That means I had to do the puzzle normally. Well, it doesn't affect combat at all since I already cleared the area, and this is required to beat the game anyway, so I'm fine with it. And if you consider that cheating and the whole run ruined, then good for you. I think you take the challenges a bit too seriously. Anyway, the horn's been replaced with the note, so we have to go get the horn from Riverwood. You guys all know how that goes by now. We have the dragon fight at the burial site and the embassy coming up. Hey, that dragon fight might actually be hard considering how bad our mobility is, and fireballs travel pretty slowly in the air. Dragons can easily fly away from them if they aren't planted in place, so this might be hard. Yeah, so the fight was for sure harder than the previous one, but we still never came close to dying. The biggest problem I ran into was that our fireballs were doing pretty much nothing to the dragon. This was with quite a few perks boosting its power, and yet I was still dealing way more consistent damage with our Falmer bow with iron arrows. It's kind of crazy how good archery is in this game. The dragon was mostly busy paying attention to the other NPCs, so we only got hit a few times, but I'm worried about how the Alduin fight is gonna go. What do we have until then? Just the embassy, Ratway, and then Skyhaven Temple, I think. Wow, that's really not much. Unless the embassy goes badly, I think we got smooth sailing until the Alduin fight. Oh wow, I didn't remember this. Check this out. When you're at the start of the embassy quest, you're actually not allowed to crouch. I think this is so that you can't pickpocket prior to sneaking out of the party. That's fine. There's literally nothing you can do at this part of the run other than hand a man a bottle of wine. We get to crouch again before we get anywhere near enemies. So in the back of the embassy, we have to do some fights. Enemies here are pretty tough compared to us and use decent elven gear, so I ended up looting a bit of it to help us through here. So, much like with a lot of other enemies, we're fine fighting them one-on-one because we can just drain our whole magicka bar throwing 3 double-handed fireballs to take them down. But as soon as we're fighting multiple of them, I'm forced to start picking up and using their weapons a bit, and we're not very good with them. It's not too bad, but I did have to drink some health potions, and I try to avoid that whenever I can. Gotta save them for when you really need them the most, you know? It's not too bad though. If you ever get overwhelmed, you can just go through a load zone. In a lot of areas of this game, enemies can follow you through loading doors, but for some reason in the embassy, they just can't. So simply going outside during a fireball fight will let you hide and restore your magicka. It works great. The basement of the place is a prison, but beyond me searching the room for ages, forgetting I have to read the journal I found to progress the quest, there's nothing really dangerous down here. Just a few guards that we get the jump on before they could do any real damage. So we have to go find the dude in the ratway, then we need to go to Skyhaven Temple. Okay, do I even need to talk about the ratway? The whole first section of this place is just an easy test for the Thieves Guild, then the actual descent into the ratway warrens is a walk in the park. You just drop down through the middle of the place, go through a door, talk to the guy we need, he fights the enemies in the room for us, and then I didn't run into any more enemies on the way back up. I feel like they're usually here, but they're not here this time. I could have done this at level 1 with no gear and been fine. Let's go and do the Skyhaven Temple thing. So Skyhaven Temple basically has no fighting. There's a couple of enemies in the first room, but you're forced to have 2 other people in the area with you who can easily handle the fight on their own. So it's mostly just a bunch of walking and talking to them. I made sure to pick up the Dragon's Bane sword from in there though. It's a sword that does extra damage to dragons, as you can probably guess. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I might be way too immobile to get that close to Alduin during the big fight, but there's no harm in having it. Climbing the mountain to get to Parthenax takes a little while longer than usual, but there's not really any danger. There's 3 ice wraiths that do pretty decent amounts of damage to us, but it only takes 3 fireballs to knock them out, so it's really not too bad. Hey, you want to know how you know for sure this is a Bethesda game and not an Obsidian one? When talking to Parthenax, to progress the conversation, I am forced to say both an Elder Scroll, what's that? Followed by announcing that, yeah, we have an Elder Scroll. Obsidian games always have some kind of alternate dialogue for if you do these things out of order. Bethesda basically never does this, even though they let you do things wildly out of order. Unless you count Fallout New Vegas, it had alternate dialogue for all kinds of crazy things. But you know, that was made by Obsidian, not Bethesda, so I guess that makes sense. Anyway, time for the Alduin fight. I'm sure this strategy won't surprise you, but I spent most of the fight crouching on top of a rock that I can easily back up on to break line of sight. I tried my best to keep using the Dragon Rend shout on Alduin every time he starts to fly again so that he always lands in the same spot, but a few times I mess up and he ends up landing somewhere else. Generally, as long as I keep breaking line of sight every time he faces me, I can avoid most of his moves. Yeah, he can make it rain fire, but he only starts doing that if he's flying, so as long as my timing with Dragon Rend is good enough, I don't really have to worry about that move. A couple of times during the fight, I ended up way out of position and took some bad damage thanks to that. Once was because Parthenax landed on us, so we couldn't move, and the other time was just from moving into melee to try and use our Dragonbane sword, but the hit detection is just awful from behind, and even though I was clearly hitting his wing at points, none of the hits counted. Dragon fights and melee attacks are a nightmare sometimes in this game. I just had to find my way back to the safety rock. It took a good 7 minutes, but we won this fight on the first try. So next we have to trap a dragon in Whiterun so that we can ride it to the final area of the game. It's all really easy. All you have to do is use the Dragon Rend shout so that he lands and he'll follow you right into the trap. He's clearly programmed to do it. But we kind of hit a snag, and it's one I've never seen before, but it's just such a delightfully Bethesda moment. He's stuck on our NPC follower Lydia. Now, I've done this quest with a follower tons of times in my life, but I have never seen this happen, where she just will not get out of his way. So he totally stops fighting, keeps looking at her like he's anxious to get by, and then just keeps trying to squeeze past her. And it went on for ages. I guess we're flying off to the end of the game then. Make your final guesses on if we can do it or not. Oh, I just realized I'm probably not going to be able to skip past that priest fight right near Sovngarde since I can't sprint. That's brutal. I bet I can't even skip the indoor parts by parkouring like I usually do either. Ooh, I'll give it a try though. Okay, so the whole first part was a comedy of errors. I spent forever trying to parkour to skip the dungeon, but I don't think this can be done while crouched. I spent a good 10 minutes on it with no luck. So I do the backup of just breezing past everything and getting to the dungeon. Normally I'd sprint this area, but you know, sneaking challenge, can't sprint. Oh, and did I mention that the entire time that we've been doing all of this, we are getting attacked by a dragon? It hurts, but honestly, it's not too bad. Like, as long as I'm not fighting anything else, I can out-heal it. So here's the first time I got to the dungeon. And here was the second time. Yeah, it turns out that we're so slow that the enemies followed us through the load zone. I tried moving around and fighting them, but there's a million of them. They're all really strong and they can two-shot us. I don't think getting through this area as fast as possible is going to be the winning move. I think I'm going to have to take this super slow. I'll fight the dragon and hope that with it dead, I can sneak past the bulk of the Draugr. So, I take it slow. First, I hang out at the start and fight the dragon that shows up. Honestly, it wasn't too bad, because as long as you stay in that real starting area, it just lands in a spot where you can very easily pelt it with arrows or shank it with your Dragon's Bane sword. It wasn't nearly as dangerous as I was worried about. It went down pretty quick. What was more of a problem was that as I started slowly ascending towards the dungeon, another dragon shows up, basically right away. This one was way tougher too, so I ended up ducking into a building that I don't normally have to do. I fought some Draugr so that I'd get to the top of the building, and from there I was able to have a pretty slow archery duel with the dragon. As long as I was careful about when we used Dragon Rend, I could get him to land at the perfect distance where he couldn't attack us, but we could just reliably hit him with arrows. This one took much longer than the first dragon fight, but eventually it went down and we could keep moving. With the dragon down, it still wasn't easy. There was a lot of Draugr with bows, and they actually hit us pretty hard, what with us having mage's robes and all, not real armor. It wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy, and I had to take things very slow to keep from getting swarmed and overwhelmed. Inside the dragon was really slow, but honestly pretty easy. It's just a long dungeon almost entirely of Draugr. Some of them aren't even strong Draugr. Some of them are like start of the game Draugr with almost no health. The real problem here was just trying to remember how to do all the puzzles that I haven't done in years. The dungeon took me a good 20 minutes, and although that doesn't sound long, that's pretty long by Skyrim standards. Part of that is our slow speed, but most of it is just having to pick off enemies one by one for safety. We never came even close to dying here, but I was real worried about what comes next. There's this evil undead priest dude outside who tries to pick up a staff when we show up. If he gets it, then the portal we need to get into closes and we have to fight him. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never fought that dude in my life, so I have no idea how hard he is. Maybe we get past him with the whirlwind sprint shout? Oh my god, first try. I just see him going for the staff, I threw some fireballs, I figure there's no way that I'll make it in time, and then I just do. I don't know what took him so long, but even while crouching, he let me stroll on past to the portal. That means we're in Sovngarde. There's only 2 fights here. Soon and Alduin. Soon is just the Doorsman for Sovereign Guard here. You have to beat him for him to let you in, but it's super easy. I hit a few fireballs and he lets me past. This guy never takes more than a few minutes to get past. After that is the last battle of the game, if you can call it that. It's a 4-on-1 battle against Alduin where our buddies basically do all the work for us. They can't not help you in this fight, so all we really have to do is spam Dragon Rend to keep Alduin on the ground. He goes down fast, winning us the run. Well, that didn't go how I expected in so many ways. That run was actually way more interesting than I was expecting. Just a bit less movement speed, and I had to totally change how I did half the areas of the game. That was really cool. I hope you guys like that run. For next Saturday's challenge, it's back to Pokemon with Pokemon Gold, with only one Ditto. Will it be a nightmare? Yeah, probably. Will I beat it? No, probably not. I'm gonna try, though. As always, I'm looking at your suggestions in the comments in the challenge request section of my Discord channel and on Twitter. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. Outro time. It was really fun playing Skyrim again after all this time. I really like that game. It's a good one. You know what really surprised me when I went back to play Skyrim again? I booted up Vortex, the Nexus mod manager thing. That's what it's called, Vortex nowadays. And I booted that up just to see if I had any like stability mods or anything for Skyrim. And I didn't, so I went and picked some up because yeah, I finally found some sites that like verify and show you what the good ones are, the stable ones are. So I was doing that, and I was looking up other useful things that would be good for the runs, like, for instance, in New Vegas, I found a mod that makes it so it skips the little intro when you, like, boot up the game. It'll skip it right to the continue button, which is super useful for saving you 3 very annoying seconds every time you boot the game. I was looking for something a little bit like that, you know, just little quality of life things. I found one that made it so that you can skip through dialogue slightly faster, which is really nice because, my god, there's a lot of long dialogue in Skyrim. That said, it doesn't speed up like the cutscene dialogue at all, and that is a lot of runtime of these challenges, but whatever, doesn't matter. Point being, I was blown away that I could not find a good mod for like skipping the whole tutorial area of the game, you know, the whole never-ending intro and you run out of town and blah, blah, blah. I couldn't find anything for that. The closest thing I could find is a few people had saves posted where you could take their save and it's like right after the dungeon or whatever. But then I realized, oh god, of course they don't have a thing to skip it because the way they designed it, you side with either the Stormcloaks or the Imperials as you leave the town. And although, like, who you side with there really, really doesn't matter, it doesn't make you, like, join that faction or anything. It has a little bit of storyline implication later in some side quests, so it would probably matter to players which way you did it. So if you were to just, you know, use a code to skip it, I don't even know what would happen to those quests. So I'm assuming that's why they don't have like a proper mod for skipping that, not affecting the game in any kind of negative way. I thought I'd just share that, considering it's like the main thing that makes me not want to start new files in Skyrim. Like with Oblivion, it's not a big deal. You just make a manual save right before you leave the sewers on the first time you play. And there you go. Anytime you want to start a new file, you just load back to that manual save. And right when you hit the door to leave the sewers, you get a text box where you can completely rebuild your character. So you can just build your character there and then boom, you're out in the open world right away. So nice. Even Morrowind was pretty quick about it, but Skyrim, man. Skyrim takes up a lot of your time for that. And the crazy part is, it's the one with the least character building at the start. You don't really build your character at the start in Skyrim. You build what your character looks like, and you pick your race, which has some like racial bonuses and abilities and stuff. But outside of that, all character building is done like in-game, you know? You use skills and you gain points in those skills. That's about it. You don't even have stats in that game. It's all skills and perks. Skyrim's a really unique one in that way. Anyway, I'm rambling. I should go make some lunch. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.